Hola amigos, I am Rodolfo Ramos, Bradesco BVI's Mexico strategist, and welcome to this What's What in Mexico, our bi-weekly video product to give you our latest views. So today, as you can see, we're shooting here in the heart of Manhattan, here in Central Park, frozen Central Park, and you might even see some snow right now falling. But there's a lot of ground for us to cover, and we'll keep it brief to 3 points as we usually do. So first of all, we're going to be covering, of course, what seems to be now the flavor of the year with the U.S.-Mexico negotiations. Secondly, we're going to be covering our views on activity-nearshoring and how investors should position there. And finally, we're going to cover some of our views of the recent development around Mexico's banking sector. So kicking off here with our first point, the Mexican-U.S. negotiations, it has been very encouraging for us to continue to see Sheinbaum maintaining this cool, level-headed approach in these negotiations. Recently, Donald Trump characterized her as a wonderful woman, so we do see these negotiations moving forward in the right direction. And it has also been thanks to Mexico's unwavering commitment on the security front and addressing some of the U.S. concerns. We've continued to see record drug seizures. We continue to see them apprehending these high-profile members of criminal organizations. We saw recently the U.S. and Mexican armed forces coming out with joint press statements and outlining exactly how they're going to be collaborating. There's been joint training, military exercises. So we do believe that Mexico is putting all of its will and effort to bring these negotiations forward. This is really what has given us more confidence in the ultimate outcome of these negotiations. And currently, right now, the members of Claudia Sheinbaum's cabinet, starting off with the Minister of Economy, Marcelo Ebrard, they're currently in D.C., where they're expected to have high-level meetings next week, particularly to address these trade negotiations more specifically. Mexico has been also taking steps to address some of the concerns on the U.S. side on the trade front, and this is now what's going to be coming to the forefront after security gets addressed. And as you know, March 1st is the deadline for this 25% tariff suspension. So we do believe that this is going to come into focus as we approach this date of March 1st. We do believe that Mexico is likely to avoid, we'll have to see, but is likely to avoid these tariffs as these negotiations move forward. But again, you're going to have April 1st is when the U.S. concludes its review of its America First trade policy, and this is when the USMCA review might come into play. We do believe that it's actually in Mexico's best interest to have this earlier USMCA review rather than wait to 2026 and have to live with that uncertainty and overhang for much, much longer. So we'll keep you posted on what comes out of these meetings in DC and how things are looking for March 1st. But we are cautiously optimistic on this front, especially given Mexico's really determination and accommodating a lot of these U.S. concerns on various fronts, whether it's, of course, security, as we discussed, but also immigration and trade as well. So moving on to the second point, which is also related to this USMCA review, is activity and nearshoring. We saw Banxico, Mexico's central bank, cutting its GDP forecast for 2025 from 1.2 to 0.6% of growth. Of course, this is a deceleration that we have been seeing for some time now, but it again goes to highlight the uncertainties that we're facing in terms of investments with this review that it has been lingering now. So this is the reason why we continue to be a much more conservative and playing much more defensive our exposure to nearshoring. This is the first time we started to have already Mexican companies reporting their fourth quarter results. And this is the first time where we've seen management teams acknowledging that there is a slowdown in the sector. We're starting to see already vacancies picking up in some key nearshoring markets along the northern border. So this is something that that has weighed on the sector, and this is why we continue to believe that the right approach is playing it more defensively, and that's why we've avoided companies that focus on development side of the business, and again, companies that have specific catalysts. No, so we'll leave all of the links to our reports in the description, in our video, and in our notes as well, so that you can peruse that in more detail. So this is the second point that we wanted to discuss. The third point is on the banking sector. This is probably where we've gotten the greatest pushback on our more constructive view on Mexico, because we have avoided the Mexico's banking sector, and the rationale behind this exclusion from our exposure is really because we still see a lot of uncertainty for the sector. We believe that the Claudia Sheinbaum administration has yet to define how they're going to leverage Mexico's financial sector for the development of the country. We have to remember that even though Claudia Sheinbaum is a pragmatic leader, she is one that truly believes in the more progressive and leftist ideals. So it'll be very interesting to see how the government intends to leverage the Mexico's banking sector. We're starting to see some pieces moving in terms of industry leaders. The Banking Association will be renewing its leadership, and it's rumored that Emilio Romano, director of Bank of America in Mexico, is going to be taking the post. This will be the first time that a financial institution without retail operations in Mexico takes the leadership at this very important association, and this could, gives us some hints that the U.S.-Mexico relationship is likely going to have a play in all of these discussions around the banking sector more broadly. We recently saw Sheinbaum meeting with Ana Botín, executive chair of Santander. So we do believe that these are very important discussions to monitor, especially because Citibanamex, has on the drawing board this IPO listing of its Mexican banking sector, and of course, banking operation. And of course, as you know, the banks in Mexico represent a very important part of investors' portfolio, because of the high levels of liquidity. So this is something that we are very closely monitoring that you should also keep an eye on as to how the government is going to move forward, particularly in regards to taxation and perhaps more industry specific policies as to how to foster more credit growth. So this is really what we had for you today. Hopefully you found it useful, and we'll keep you posted next week, which is going to be critical for all of Mexico observers. So have a great weekend, everybody, and take care, amigos. Stay warm. Ciao, ciao.